So yesterday I released a MCP for Oracle WebCenter Content and created this blog post. You can download it and try it today from GitHub. But essentially, if you don't know what an MCP is, it's essentially a middleware layer between a LLM chat interface and either a third-party tool, whether that's on your desktop, or a third-party web service. In our case, this is a MCP connector to the Oracle WebCenter REST APIs. So essentially, it allows the LLM to act on your behalf to connect through to the REST APIs and do certain actions against it. Now, what I've done is I've provided access or created over 50 tools on the MCP that map to each of the WebCenter Content REST APIs. So that essentially gives it access to everything that Oracle are doing. I've also released on GitHub a Swagger file. So it also provides all of the endpoints so you can easily see those. I think it's actually in the GitHub repository. So let me have a look. Yep. So here, as of July, a couple of days ago, I created this Swagger file that you can now download instead of going through the documentation because it's a bit too much. It's much easier for me as a developer to open up a Swagger file, quickly find the APIs, find the endpoints, and do whatever I need to do. So let's go back to this blog post. So as I said, MCP allows agents or to connect to WebCenter content. I've also plugged it into Claude Desktop, and that's what I'll be showing you today. So I'll open up Claude Desktop and I'll show you how we can connect through to WebCenter to perform some of these actions. Now, if you haven't seen it, go and check it out. Oracle are also now providing MCPs to connect to other third-party services. So whether you're using Fusion AI Studio or the OCAI platform, you'll be able to connect those through to an MCP that can then interact with your services. So that's pretty cool stuff. And I don't know if you saw this, but a couple of days ago, Oracle also released, and let's just go into this article here. You can see Chris here. But essentially, Oracle are now providing more and more capabilities, of which one of them is they've evaluated the MCP and they've integrated it to their core developer tools, which is really cool. Let's head back now to that blog post. There we go. And one of the other things that's really cool that's coming along, I haven't seen it yet, but I was talking to the Oracle PM team, and there is an official MCP server coming for Oracle WebCenter Content. So keep an eye out for that. But if you want to try it out today, go ahead, go to GitHub, download, and try out my WebCenter connector. Okay. So in terms of capabilities, I have just listed them out here. So for example, we've got document management where we can search documents. This is different to RAG. This is essentially just using a query to bring back a list of documents. We can get the metadata. We can download the document to get the AI or the LLM to download that file, update the metadata, delete, all of that good stuff. We can check or update the workflow status. So if the document is in workflow, you can just get the LLM to process and review and do good things there. Creation of files and folders is available. We've also got link sharing. I can't show you that today because the environment I have access to on WebCenter Cloud, I don't have public access, would you believe it? So I can't show you that, but it will go ahead and create or generate public links that you can just then share up with colleagues. So you can just say, hey, just generate this public link for me to share out with a friend, and it'll go ahead and do that, give you the link, and then you can just email that link off to someone. And then we've got some advanced operations. So back at the top here, I had this this document management search documents. I've also built in a query builder. So essentially, you can say to your LLM, find documents by JSON. And instead of doing just a search or string search, what it's going to do is it's actually going to create its own query and say d.author contains or matches JSON, and then it will return back a list of those documents to you to then decide what's the next action. And then we've got other things like get all the metadata fields and other information on your WebCenter content environment. So here you can see, for example, here's an example. Can you find documents by JSON? It goes ahead to the MCP tool, builds a search query, which you can see here. The query is d.author contains JSON, and then you can see it returns a couple of documents. What else? Oh yeah, so let's dive in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up, so as part of this, in this repository, you'll see there's an Electron folder. So I've essentially built a desktop app for Windows or Mac or Linux, and it allows you to essentially configure your environment. So you can go here and you can essentially configure your username and password, specify the server, test your connection, make sure that connection is working, and then you can see the server log and information on what's going on with that server. Now, why this is good is if you're using Claude Desktop, with Claude Desktop, you have to keep on shutting down, updating the configuration, and restarting if you're working locally. So what this allows you to do is keep Claude Desktop open and talk to this directly, and allows you to change and connect to multiple environments just by tweaking the parameters, which is really, really good. Now, although I'm going to show you this locally today, it can be run as a web server. So that means that other agents and whatever can connect to your web server and connect to WebCenter content. But for this instance, I'm actually running this locally. So I've configured Claude to connect to a local script that's then doing all of the MCP connections and tools through to WebCenter. One thing I don't have today, which I'm working on, should be released soon, is giving you the ability to do OAuth. So at the moment, the username password is passed across through the MCP as basic auth, so your username password through to the REST APIs and back again. But what's going to happen is you're going to be able to set up OAuth and automatically connect without putting those credentials in, and then you'll get a window, pop-up window, put it in, and then the MCP can act on your behalf. One more thing, if we quickly go back to that to this blog post, where is it? So you saw a list of these. What I'm also going to do is we're going to provide the ability to essentially customize what's exposed to the end user. So out of the box, all of these tools are available, right? So we don't necessarily want that. Well, maybe you don't want to give the ability to users who are using the MCP to be able to delete documents. You want them to kind of go ahead and delete it themselves. So you're going to be able to toggle these on and off. But for now, everything is enabled. So with that said, let's jump into Claude. Let me Claude up. Now, Claude on a Mac is very restricted. It's kind of sandboxed. So it's a little bit annoying, especially if you're doing download operations or operations kind of editing files locally. Because Claude is sandboxed, doesn't have access. So what I've done, if I go into here, go into System Tools, of course I can't find it. What I've done is I've gone in there, and here it is. It's just going a little bit slow. I've added full access to, so if it's in privacy and security, and my computer's going a little bit slow today, but within, there we go, privacy and security, you can give full disk access. And if I go in there, I've added Claude to give it full disk access. If you don't, it's only got access to documents. And when you're talking to the LLM, it's not very sure where it can download, so it keeps trying putting it into different files. But if you enable that and give it full disk access, there is also another MCP tool that I've configured. Go into my settings, and then if you go to extensions, you can add an extension called file system, configure it, enable it, and then that will give Claude full access to your file system. On Windows, I haven't had any issues. It seems to just do it without this being enabled. But on a Mac, there's more restrictions, it appears. So with that said, let's go into the new chat. Let's close this down. What we're going to do is let's ask you a few questions. So what I wanted to do, and I'm just going to copy these down instead of typing it. So what I've got here is find documents by JSON, essentially me, in the fishbowl security group, right? And what it's going to do, if I hit enter here, is it is going to see that string, and then it's going to say, hey, I need to actually build a query. And so it builds this object here, and it automatically knows, hey, d.author is the author. So it says, hey, d.author contains JSON, and no security group is actually the metadata field, the security group. So it's got that, and it puts the values as fishbowl. It then passes that down to a secondary tool, which I've got search documents, and I've limited it by 20 documents, but it's essentially generated this query on the fly. So d.author contains JSON, and the security group contains fishbowl. Really cool, right? So it's essentially looked at my string, and it's gone, hey, this user wants to do this. It knows how this data maps to the metadata in WebCenter Content, and then it's able to generate a WebCenter Content specific query that it can then use to call WebCenter, return the JSON data. So you'll see here, it says, hey, I found 5 documents, by me and with a fishbowl security group, and it's listed those 5 documents there. Right? Again, just giving you a quick overview on those documents. So let's try searching by string. Okay, so I know this exists. So what I'm going to do is find, let's move that across a bit, find Elasticsearch documents. Right, so let's hit enter and see what happens now. It knows that this is just a string query. It's not trying to, it's just basically saying, hey, I'm not going to try and create my own query builder. I'm just going to do a search for Elasticsearch. And so what it will do is, let's open this. Yep. So what it first did is it tried to find a document, any document with Elasticsearch. It couldn't find anything. The response was empty. And what it did was it changed that response because it couldn't find any documents. It changed that response to Elastic. And it did find one document here. You can see it found one called Elasticsearch. So you can see there's no space there. So it did multiple queries to actually find and see if it could actually find some files for me. And it's provided me that info on the fly. So it's really cool. So one of the things that the LLM does, if it isn't able to get or do your action first time, it'll try a few different options out, especially when it comes to Claude. So it went ahead, figured out some other alternatives, and then was able to find that document and then bring it back. Okay, now let's have a look. What I'm going to see is if you can download a file, right? So can you find and download the WebCenter migration doc for me? So let's see what it does here. Let's hit enter. Okay. Right, so instead of searching this time, what's actually happened is it already knows, because I've done a previous search, it already known about the doc name, and so it's automatically trying to download that document on the fly. And it tried to put it to this path. Now, as I said, this is sandboxed, so Claude, there's always limitations and things like that. So it wasn't able to place that document into a specific area within my Mac. So what it's done is it's used this other tool that I was telling you about earlier called list allowed directories. And so it has access to my documents folder here. And so what it's gone ahead and done is found that folder, got that file, and put it into that directory for me. So now I have access to do whatever I want. And then it's also giving me some metadata and information on that. So what I could do, for example, is I have that document here, and I can drag and drop it into here. You could ingest it and do other things, or you can just say, hey, just ingest or extract, summarize this document for me, and it will automatically generate a script or tooling to open up that document, read that document, and then summarize it out for you. Okay, so let's see if it can be clever enough and start doing some other smart things. So as an example, what I've asked it to do is, hey, let's write a poem about AI, first of all. Now, I could create like a string saying, hey, I want you to do this, this, and this, but let's start off something simple. Let's create a poem about AI and see what happens here. Right, so here it goes. It's giving me a poem called Silicon Dreams. Looks good. Now, what I would like to do is in WebCenter Content, so let's go across WebCenter Content. I've already created a poem by myself within here. It's just essentially my demo poem, okay? So what I'm going to do is, let's go back to Claude. Let's see if it can check this in as a new revision into this document. So let's see. Let's do this. Okay, so essentially I'm saying find a poem by JSON and create a new revision of this poem and check it in. All right. Okay, so it's gone ahead, it's searching for that document. It's downloaded the original file. So I can see on my Explorer here, it's downloaded, I'll find it, it's downloaded the poem. It's in the contents. So because it's got that tool, it can read it. And now what it's going to do, check out the document. So it's going to check this document out that you can see here behind the scenes. And it's going to create a version 2 of that document. So there we go. It's writing the file to my file system. Great. And then we can break two files, which is let's check. Yeah, it's going. And that should be in the system. So let's check that out. Let's and then we will go into the properties of that document. Oh, look, title's changed. So we've got revised poem. Let's go there. It's properties. And now you can see here it's a revised poem. It's specified my author, and that's all it. So let's go to revisions. And there's revision 2. And then let's close that out. Now if we open up this file, here's the mini poem that it's added to the system. Okay, so just to finish off, let's see what kind of system information. As a developer, I'm always need kind of information about metadata fields and things like that, what the system has. And so let's see, let's go, can you get available metadata fields for me? And we'll just post that and see what information it can actually get from WebCenter. So you can see it's calling the tool, get document meta info, and here you can see it. It's brought back the metadata fields, and then it's kind of giving me a description of each of those fields. Here are the custom fields, some classifications, application fields, Great. So it's found 64 total metadata fields and 7 document types. So there's everything. So this is just how you can configure Claude and Claude to the content, carry out tasks really quickly on creating a post on how to use AI agents, so Oracle agents, to create these kind of things on the fly, and then we can test that out as well. But feel free to go ahead. Any issues, just ping me a message in the issues list. It's still new, so there are issues that I've noticed that I need to go ahead and review and fix, but those will be coming out. There's a few cool enhancements like auth, that'll be great, and ability to turn on and turn off different features. But yeah, give it a try. If you're using Claude Desktop, you need to configure it. So here's an example of how to configure it. It's different, obviously, on Windows and Mac, but essentially put a configuration file, specify the path to that MCP, put your base URL, I should rename that to the REST API endpoint. So you put in your WCC domain, and then the path, or your username and password. One thing you'll need to do is stop Claude if it's open, so completely exit out of Claude, reopen Claude, and then you can start talking to WebCenter and say, hey, can you find me my docs, or can you do X, Y, and Z to it? Great, that's it. So I hope this is really cool. I found it really cool to